The intelligence analysts didn't realize how far Trump would go. Um, Basically, on Saturday, November 28th, according to a local news site called NewJersey.com, a Stop the Steal Klan rally caravan involving dozens of demonstrators traveled around the state for several hours to support their fake idol, the sycophantic Donald Trump, and his election claims. The caravan ended at Governor Phil Murphy's home, where the protesters had shifted to criticizing the COVID shutdown, calling for the reopening of New Jersey, and they festooned with Trump sycophantic flags and inbred signs. The caravan moved to the sound of honks of encouragement. Really fucking pathetic, if you ask me. But it was just one protest not worthy of national attention, according to MSA Security, which is a private security company. Eight protests were planned for that Saturday in California, New York, and Oregon. Federal law enforcement and intelligence agencies are reportedly warning officials of the increased chances of political violence in the ongoing election disputes, the company said. But calls for civil unrest and possible violence have flooded social media, the company also said. There was no tangible evidence that anyone was being warned. Neither the FBI nor the Department of Homeland Security kept a nationwide list of demonstrations. The FBI's effort focused on specific acts of potential terrorism, particularly bombings and other catastrophic attacks. The DHS served the nationwide network of state and urban level fusion centers, funneling the open source and investigative information. That primary focus was forecasting threats to law enforcement and critical infrastructure, but also obsessions with new threats such as countering the unmanned aerial systems, which was drones. DHS doesn't report on the First Amendment demonstrations per se, a contractor who works in the domestic intelligence world told Newsweek. He requested anonymity because he was not authorized to speak about government intelligence gathering and reporting. But the First Amendment label, the contractor said, isn't concocted or immaterial, but balancing monitoring and the protecting people's rights to protest is a constant struggle. So the intelligence system naturally gravitates towards the safer and less controversial subjects. One organization that does focus on nationwide protests and tracks trends is the U.S. Crisis Monitor at Princeton University. Their regional overview, the United States 20 from November 22nd to the 28th of last year, reported that demonstrations increased by half of the year. This is going back from November 22nd to the 28th of last year. Basically, they reported that demonstrations decreased by half for the week when compared with the previous week. Demonstrations have declined overall in the week since the election, Crisis Monitor reported. With Donald Trump officially authorizing the transaction process to begin, the report said the total number of election-related demonstrations significantly decreased. Election-related demonstrations declined from a high of over 300 during the week of the election to less than a tenth of that number over the past week. Crisis Monitor reports that the majority of demonstrations around the country, just over half, didn't relate at all to elections, but were focused on COVID. Now, even there, though coronavirus-related events remained below the levels seen earlier in the year, more than half of these COVID demonstrations, the report said, were against government regulations and the state level restrictions. But demonstrations in support of government measures accounted for 40% of all the COVID-19 related demonstration events. The Stop the Steal Klan rally demonstrations, the report said, seem to have lost momentum. But groups like the Proud Boys and the Three Percenters were increasingly visible, with the group present in more than a quarter of election-related demonstrations. But other armed militia groups, including the New York Watchmen and the Patriot Prayer, were present at various demonstrations across the country. Now, almost 24 demonstrations associated with the Black Lives Matter movement were recorded during the week. The report said also, which was also a significant decrease. But when presented with these numbers, the Homeland Security contractor said that much of the decline probably was related to the Thanksgiving holiday and didn't reflect on an actual longer-term threat. He said that the November 14th Klan rally in Washington was dismissed by most observers and analysts, that the demonstration itself was a bust and was also dominated by a few violent agitators. But I don't think that we could say that any insurrection or seditious activity was yet forming. Did the FBI or Homeland Security ignore the Republican protesters because there were analysts who were sympathetic to their cause, which I'm not? The contractor didn't subscribe to that idea. Did half vote for Donald Trump? He asked rhetorically. Maybe so, and perhaps even more. But he felt that in that particular ranks, the workers were scrupulously impartial. interested as much as identifying a Republican or a Democrat threat to the government. But I can't say that the time for the Homeland Security leadership, he said, and that certainly influenced how far preparations could go. But with that being said, the intelligence and law enforcement analysts also didn't understand Donald Trump and how far he would go, because when it comes to threats and governance and the Constitution by those actually in power, no one in the federal government really bears any responsibility for thwarting that. So if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King, and also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out, and thanks for listening.